Yes, I had to cut 2 holes in this bulldozer's chassis to do a repair. It's obvious the holes are worn. I need to weld them up and bore them back to spec. Currently, I only have one boring bar, so I was left with 2 options here. I can make a new short boring bar, or I can use the one long one I have. Using the long boring bar made more sense to me. Once my bar was aligned, I could do repairs on both sides of the dozer without having to realign. This is also the quicker way. I had to do this repair in a customer's yard. I prefer working at the workshop in my own space, so the sooner I could get back to the workshop, the better. And yes, again, I'm using a magnetic base drill to bore. I do know there's such thing as a line boring machine, so there's no need to cry in the comments. I'm using what I have available to get the job done. Now that that's been said, let's get back to the job. The holes have worn roughly 0.3 of a millimeter over size, so I take a light cut before I weld up the holes. By doing this, I will have a thicker layer of welding once I've bored the holes back to original size. Once I had taken a light cut from all the holes, I removed my components from the one side of the dozer and began welding up the holes. I'm out here with a magnetic base drill, so obviously I don't have a bore welding machine, so here I am welding up by hand. Once the welding was complete, I mounted all the components on this side and bored out the holes. And here I am again, not using anything fancy, just a caliper and vernier to measure the hole. You do get a snap gauge that fits in the boring bar to measure, but I just farmyard it. Jokes aside though, the pin that fits in these holes' diameter is 75 millimeters. I got my tool adjusted to that size, so I took my final cut. My final size was 0.04 of a mil over 75. I was happy with this. A size for size fit would be too tight to enter the pin by hand. So the boring on this side of the dozer is complete. I can now continue with the other side. Something I'd just like to add. Every time I work on the holes on the one side, I do not remove the aligned bearings on the opposite side. So once I have completed the welding and I want to mount the bearings again, I can slide the boring bar through and the bearings on the opposite side that are still mounted will automatically align the boring bar. And that's all the boring for this job. I now had to clean up with the grinder and weld the pieces back into the chassis. Let's take a look at the final outcome.